Today in the show, we are talking income protection exclusions. We're talking surviving silly season budgets, some VDHG tax fears, pre-auction offers, and also a car dilemma. You have me solo today, so you're welcome, everyone. Samir in the Facebook group said, "Hi, IP question, not investment property, income protection. I have had a quote excluding my left ankle for 24 months due to recent surgery. Should I be asking them to include in the policy, quote unquote, will consider for review in 12 months pending medical reports? Or from anyone's experience, was it always 24 months exclusion for things like ankle issues?" And the quote is from Noble Oak via Neos. Now, I have a couple of things to say there. When it comes to your income protection policy, or any life insurance policy, you can actually submit your circumstances and do this through your advisor at any time to review any loadings or exclusions. The thing is, they may not remove the loading or exclusion. I think it's a good thing here that they have said in the policy it's a 24-month exclusion, providing you don't hurt it in the meantime, I would imagine. But should I be asking them to include in the policy, will consider in 12 months pending medical reports? No, I wouldn't. But I go back to your advisor, because this could be a case of just get on with your life and then in 12 months, run the flag up the pole, get the advisor to contact the underwriting team and say, look, we've had no issues, we've had doctor's reports, and then review it, because they could still remove it within that 24 months. But I don't think it is a huge deal, because their internal underwriting guidelines might just say 24 months. Whether they put that, because sometimes they used to, and some insurers don't, sometimes they don't put excluded for 24 months. Sometimes they'll just say excluded. But then sometimes you'll get, for some type of conditions, and I've seen this, advisors can ask for a comfort clause to be put in exclusions. For example, we will not pay any claim relating to or aggravated by the left ankle in the event of a claim. And then the comfort clause would say, however, in the event of something wild happening that was outside of your control, we'll consider the claim anyway. So an example could be, you're just going along your life, driving your car, you're in a car crash, your left ankle gets completely shattered. There's a very high chance they would pay the claim on the left ankle anyway, because it wasn't caused by you jumping up and down, playing soccer, moving a fridge on a Saturday or anything like that. So there is a bit of latitude when it comes to these type of exclusions. But I'm curious to know, what'd you get done to your left ankle? I'm going back to the ankle surgeon next week because I've had 6 right ankle surgeries and 1 left ankle surgery. Had the ligament in my left ankle reconstructed a couple of years ago. But yeah, look, what we'll do, we'll start the episode now, and I'll actually, for those who are watching on YouTube, I've just shared kind of our production notes here so you can see a little bit behind the scenes. So that concludes the A block. And then I'd usually do a read for Sphere Home Loans. But what I'll do, I'll make an executive decision and say that this episode is brought to you by Sky Wealth. We just recommend anyone who is after any type of income protection, death cover, to go to Sky Wealth, because you'll often get a better policy. And what they do, and I've got to get Phil back on because it's been too long. I'd like to do 2 a year on insurance, and I don't even know if we've done 1 this year. Maybe we did 1 at the start of the year. What they do is they will assess you, and they will pretty much do a pre-assessment with like 11 insurers. So and it's de-identified, but what they'll do, they'll say, this person left ankle surgery, it was day surgery or arthroscopy or whatever, all G, they'll send that to 11 insurers. There could be one insurer that will say, yeah, we'll take it. So that's why it's important to go to a financial advisor when it comes to your life insurance. You can head to skye.com.au, S-K-Y-E, or just Google Sky Wealth. Have a 15-minute chat with them and they will point you in the right direction. My name is Glen James, and now if we're looking on the thing, I've done the shout out. We're going to do the burned in welcome right now. Then there'll be a dynamic ad for those who listen to the podcast. Let's do it right now. Before we get into it, this show is general advice only, and I've got a license to provide that advice. Full details can be found in the show notes. I'm a former financial advisor. Now I do the Money, Money, Money podcast. If you're a regular here, we call it M3, and we do a podcast called Retire Right. I've got a book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, is available wherever good books are sold. There's a link in the show notes if you want to turn up your investing to 11, or if you're just getting started. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for being here today. Okay, so yes, it is me today, solo. I was actually saying to Ryan before we pressed go, I haven't done a solo episode, like Q&A like this, in maybe over a year. It's wild. But if you haven't listened for a little while, or if you are new to the podcast, we're profiling a couple of things. The first is the Quick Start Guide to Investing. This is our book that won the Australian Business Awards Personal Finance Book of the Year this year in 2025, and also the Business Book of the Year overall, all categories for 2025. So that's the Quick Start Guide to Investing. It's Christmas next week. If you're listening to this when it drops, you'll still be able to stuff stockings with this if you've got teens or young adults around. And also the This Is Investing podcast. It is back. It's got its own YouTube channel and it's got a new host by the name of Vince Scully. So there we go. This is Investing. If you're into investing in shares, Vince really has got some good stuff going on there. Okay, Sheridan. Okay, team, it's that time of the year where there is far too much month at the end of the money. Best budget tips. Somewhere between batch prep your meals and use a single square ply toilet paper. So I just wanted to kind of really look at the first part of their comment. It's that time of year where there is far too much month left over at the end of the money. This time of the year, I'm pretty sure it happens every year. And this type of stress that you're feeling, it just means that you don't have a solid money system in place. And literally, it's just feeling the pressure from all the extra expenses that are coming up this time of year. Now, if you do want to jump in the Facebook and just search budget tips, you'll see Sheridan's comments. There'll be a few things that people have written in there, but I just wanted to kind of say from a personal finance, budgeting, spending point of view, if you've got a system, and even if you put $20 a week in a separate account for end of the year crap, it should remove financial stress. And I'm actually going to do a little mini thing, clip or an episode around how do you know if you're financially successful. I think one of the key things to being financially successful is that you have no week-on-week, month-on-month financial stress. And while financial stress can be different for different people, Sheridan's form of financial stress here, I think, is just caused by a lack of a good money system. I could be wrong, but best budget tips, well, have a spending plan and a budget. That's probably the best tip. I'm going out on a limb to say, you know, if you're blowing your money every month, you don't have a budget to start with, and we don't need the best budget tips, because even if you were to do batching your meals and using single-ply toilet paper, it sounds to me that you're still going to have a blowout with the entertainment stuff, going out, work, drinks, all that stuff. So hang in there, Sheridan. If you haven't already, there's the Glen James spending plan. It's the free online course. It's a spreadsheet. I will really walk you through how to have a good system in place. So look, you can have a look at any comments in the Facebook group there. And if you're not in the group yet, when you go to join it and it says, where did you hear about the group? I want you to write, I heard Glen on episode, 850, because then we know you're not spam. All right, there was another question that is not on my planner here because it was in the Facebook group. And I'm just going to zoom in and then I'll share the screen again for those who are playing along at home. And this was from Julesy. Hello, friends. Hi, Julesy. I'm hoping to get your thoughts on a car dilemma we have. My partner and I have been sharing one car since mine was written off 1.5 years ago. The car we now share is a 2009 Toyota Hilux with 300,000 kilometres on the clock. So I had a quick look and I did ask her where she's from. She's from ACT. That's probably, I would say, worth 10 to 15K. So I'm just going to write that down. In the past year, we've put just over 10K into repairs and today's service costs another 2K. We've now been told it needs to go to a specialist diesel mechanic for a leak, which will be another big expense. And I'm just going to write a quick question. She might reply before we finish the episode. What was the service that was 2K today and expected repair cost? Because that's, and just on that, I'll finish reading. My question is, at what point do you stop pouring money into an older car and decide it's better to replace it with something newer and more reliable? The tricky part is that we're expecting our first baby. Congratulations. What an awesome experience to have your first child. Every child is amazing, but the first one, it is particularly special for you and your family if it is the first in the broader family. So I was planning to buy my own car around April. I have 20K saved for that. We don't want to finance anything or dip into our emergency fund, which leaves around 13K for a second car plus whatever we can sell the Hilux for. Okay, so we've got 20K for one car and 13K for the next one, and we'll just assume the Hilux is 10K. So that's 23. There's two 20K pots. We'll just say that. Awesome. So I would love to hear your input. What would you do in this situation? What are some reliable secondhand options, or how would you strategize this so we make a smart long-term decision without overstretching ourselves? Would you just repair the Hilux and hope it stays good for a few more years? So, Jules, thank you so much for writing it. And there's a heap of comments. I asked, just to clarify, does he need the car for work? Her partner, yes, he does. In a perfect world, we would love to stick to Toyotas or something of similar reliability and have an SUV for longer trips with the family and a smaller car for day-to-day commute. We plan on having more kids, but for now we don't need a bigger car. And I was just clarifying the emergency fund. Okay, so a couple of things that I just want to highlight here, because money, cars, everything's emotional, right? So what can happen is this $2,000, today's service costs another $2,000. We need to know what was changed in that service. Was it routine pads and discs? Was it new tyres? Was it, it should have been a cabin filter and an air filter. But if they were like, well, we had to replace the back diff as part of this service, part of that cost might have been $500 or $600. But I guess what I'm saying is that service of $2,000 today, that would have been, it would have had to be something that you'd replace on most cars. So discs and pads, I would imagine, shockies. So it's more of a concern this service costs $2,000 if they're like, oh, we had to replace the head gasket or something weird like that, because that's starting to actually not be a service cost. It's like an actual repair cost. And we've now been told it needs to go to a specialist diesel mechanic for a leak, which will be another big expense. Now, we need to know, and I've asked the question, the breakdown of the service costs and also the approximate other big expense. Ordinarily, a Toyota Hilux that's diesel, this car should do another 100 to 200 Ks, right? There's not an issue there. So I think what we need to do, and I get it, in the past year, we've just put over 10K into repairs. Yeah, what was repairs? Because if it was the shockies and some drivetrain stuff, like that should be pretty good. And then the service today, we need to know what that is. But I'm in the school of thought that I'm into, just let's forget the Hilux for a moment. You need a car that is for your second car because your other car was written off. And someone did mention, and I'm just going to go to car sales website, RAV4 under 24,000. Let's have under 25,000. And let's go location, ACT, search. There's one here, 2017 for 20 grand with 129 Ks on it. Let's try and get, how can we filter this search? So I'm looking at, yeah, there's a 2015 RAV4 for 18,000. I'd probably just be doing something like that. Secondhand Toyota, there are actually good cars. Yours have done 300K on it, so it's fine. So I agree. I don't want you to have to get a loan. Go and see if you can get something reliable for under 20K like you were planning to do. When it comes to the Hilux, I'm probably seeing what the price is for the repair with the diesel mechanic. If it's under 5 grand, I'm probably doing it and keeping the Hilux for another couple of years, because that can be the runaround beater that your husband uses for work. Because you have spent 10 grand on repairs. This is just an emotional time. I get it. My car, something happened, like the battery went. And you're like, oh, it's such an inconvenience. Oh, I've got to get rid of this car. But no, that happens in every car. So my gut feeling would be there's two options. Fix it and get on with, like, just knowing that, we'll keep it another year and see what happens. And get the advice from the diesel mechanic. It should be fine. Or if it's not, if it is over $5,000, potentially just go and trade it in on another car under 20 grand that he can run in on, because you should get around 10 grand for that. But yeah, I think when all this is washed up, 2 cars owned outright. I'm not a big fan of getting the newer, quote unquote, brand new MGs or the BYD Atto 10s, like the entry level stuff, just because it's brand new for 17 grand or whatever with 7 years warranty. they're still cheap built cars. And my own philosophy is I'd rather get a secondhand quality build that's a little bit older than a brand new with warranty that is cheap and has the new car toxic smell that people like. So that's what I'm doing. How would you strategize this so we make a smart long-term decision without overstretching? Yeah. I think get your car now, or if you can wait till April, do that. Keep saving. That should last, that car. And the thing is with cars, so I'm in a similar type of predicament at the moment. If you're a regular listener, you'll have remembered on the show I had an agreement with John and Rach because I want a new car, and because I sold the Volvo and I've just got the Ranger now because I woke up one morning and I was sick of having two cars because I need the Ranger to tow the boat because the boat's 3.5 ton. But I don't love driving the Ranger every day because it's 2014, it's trucky, like, I don't know, I just want a car, but I don't want two cars anymore. So I'm in this predicament that I was talking to a few people, mechanics and whatnot, and I've done some reading online. The Rangers that I've got, the 2014-ish, at around 180,000 Ks to 200, the engines, the 5-cylinder diesels can go pop and literally die. So to replace that engine with a second-hand one is around $8,000. Now, the car's probably only worth $20,000. I'm not particularly in the mood to throw, on a broken Ranger with the engine worth nothing, probably worth $5,000. I'm not really in the mood to throw $8,000 at a car worth 20. So while I know that there is a bit of and it might not happen as well. I could get 300,000-400,000 Ks out of it, but I'm just thinking because I drive the boat, and that's a full loaded, like 3.5 ton is a big chunk of weight. In the back of my mind is like, oh, I do want to get a newer car that's nicer to drive. So I'm looking potentially maybe the BYD Shark next year that has a 3.5 ton towing capacity. I'm also looking potentially at a Volkswagen Auto Group, a Volkswagen Touareg, which tows the 3.5 ton. So yeah, I get it. I'm in this, but I'm not going to drop everything out of fear now and get rid of it. I just know, I think in the next few months, the time with this Ranger, I think I want to move it on for a number of reasons. So I get it. And yeah, it's been a good car, and I own it with cash. So we'll see if Julie replies at the end of the episode. But let's now, 24 minutes. We'll have a break and I'll be back right after this.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Sky Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at sky.com.au. That's skye.com.au, and they'll point you in the right direction.
All right. Welcome back. In the Facebook group, Indigo Mouse 2889 said, so for example, this guy or gal in the group, this post should not be used with a nickname because there's not sensitive information in there. And I'll be able to log in and hover and see who wrote it. And I'll just put, hi, whatever your name is. I answered this on the podcast today because I don't want the Facebook group to turn into a cesspool. There have been so many groups. I used to own, quote unquote, and manage a group called Men's Finance Advice, but I handed it on because it was turned into a cesspool because there was just all this anonymous posting and it was a bit of a cesspool anyway. But I just don't want our group to become a cesspool. So please, for run-of-the-mill questions that aren't of a sensitive nature, can you please not use a nickname? I know that some people get awkward, but it's all G in the H. Hi all. I've been investing into VDHG for the last 5 years. I still have 20 to 30 years of working left. Sounds like you need to be investing into super, brah. I want simplicity, hence my decision to invest in VDHG. And closer to retirement, invest more into bonds. Well, you do have 10% in VDHG of defensive, but I won't bury the lead. I'm getting sucked into all the comments and fear about tax inefficiencies of VDHG, especially when it accumulates in 20 or 30 years. I see a lot of people investing into DHHF because of this. Thoughts on changing my regular investments into VDAL, which is the Vanguard Diversified All Growth. And closer to retirement, invest into a Vanguard bond to create a better defensive portfolio. But just on that, when you retire, mate, I don't know why I'm being all like, mate, and look at me and all this. When you retire, the money still needs to work for another 20 or 30 years. So I don't think it's this, and the more we get educated about this stuff, I don't think it's this retire now and move all our money to cash and bonds, not that you're going to do all of it. I would like to stick with Vanguard as I use Vanguard Personal Investor and aren't too concerned about high fees compared to DHHF if it's still a good product. Now, stick with it then. The problem is when you see stuff online with tax drag and all that stuff, you can't ignore the fact that the best bang for buck that you get from your investing is the new money and the capital that you put into that. Sure, like your superannuation, if you had a retail or an industry fund super account, if you had that money in an IDPS, individually directed portfolio service, the tax, so I'll restate that, in a unitized fund within super, there is always provision for taxes in the unit price, okay? Because they've got to bake it into the unit price. And it's similar to some of these tax drags and whatnot. So in a perfect world, it's better not to have your money sitting in an industry fund, in a retail fund. It's better to be in a wrap account or a fund that your money is separate from the pool of money. However, does that mean other super funds are bad and you should move? No, it doesn't. And a lot of people have retired and had all this money in retirement using these types of setups and strategies. And for me personally, I hold a VDHG investment in an investment bond. And I see the stuff online about the tax drag and people sound sophisticated, and a lot of the people that post about it, they're highly technical and they're either engineers or really into IT, and it can actually confuse people and will stop people taking action and will cause people like Indigo Mouse to stress. So I don't think there's a stress there. I really don't. If anything, I'm more concerned that you're doing all this investing if it doesn't read to me that you're going to want the money before retirement age and you've been investing for the last 5 years. So worst case scenario, maybe you're 25, 25, 35, 45, 55, gets us to 55, 30 years. There's a high chance statistically that you're 30 if you're a listener of our show or more. So my challenge is, why aren't you considering your superannuation as opposed to ordinary money there could be some reasons for that. There could be that you're capped out with your SG and whatnot. So, yes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get stuck in the weeds of stuff. So I've got the VDHG and they're for my nieces and nephews in investment bonds, but I don't, for my investing within my super fund, for example, I use the Life Sherpa Invest portfolio, which is an IDPS, and you can get that in ordinary money. And they, Vince and the team, they support the podcast here, so disclosing that. But yeah, I don't know. I just would not stress about these little things online. And I say it a lot. I think there's like someone under 50 or maybe in their 30s or 40s, there's like a 0.3% difference by the time they get to age 60 or 65 if they had an IDPS or a wrap account as opposed to a unitized fund, because there's just the internal tax is what gets you, because they've got to sell down portions to, feed the pool. And when everyone was, with a superannuation, was it 296, having a minor aneurysm with over 3 million? Is it what was that? Division 296. Yes. The whole thing was they're taxing unrealized gains and all that stuff. They're doing that with a unitized fund anyway. So, yeah. All right, what do we got here? You having fun today, everyone? Sometimes when I'm by myself, I get a bit wild and ranty. Maddie York, what is up? What did you have to say? Hi. What's everyone's thoughts about pre-auction offers? Yeah, do what you want. That's my thought, but I joke. Let's continue. The property I'm looking at is listed for $290 to $320. So damn it, my pen's broken. $290 to $320, and it last sold for $275 in 2014. Thinking pros are securing it early, but cons, you risk overpaying, but it's such a hot market at the moment. A smaller unit in the same building sold for $322 in 2022. Okay. So she is potentially looking at a one-bedroom apartment, and the smaller one that sold, well, we don't know the location, one-bedroom apartment, and the one that sold was smaller, may have been a studio, could be a two-bedder that she's looking at, and the one that sold was a one. Just on the sold for $275 in 2014. So it basically did nothing for 10 years, which is pretty normal for some apartments in some areas. To the thing about the property I'm looking at is listed for $290 to $320. I think when it's a home to live in, like, number one, we're not buying property with a view to sell it in 2 or 3 years. Otherwise, don't do it. We're buying this property to live in, I presume. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's to live in. I'm assuming that. It doesn't say anything about an investment property. And I guess the same things apply, but more so if you're living in it. We know when you are buying particularly one-bedroom apartments and studio apartments, sometimes, not always, the price won't really do anything. But that's okay if you want a house to live in that you own for the long term. The shoe really does fit. You just need to know that you're not doing this as a capital growth play. So, number one, you could ask the listing agent, hey, would you consider any pre-auction offers? They might say, nah, not doing it. We're just going to auction. That's fine. They could go, yes, do you want to put an offer? Look, throw 300 up. I'm just like, yeah, would you do it 300 or 310? see what happens. I would always kind of go in under the 320 because when it goes to auction, there is no guarantee that the asset that you're looking at in the suburb and the time frame and all that stuff, there's actually no guarantee that it would sell. It might get passed in. Who knows? They may have tried to sell this a year ago and couldn't sell it. So I don't think there's any harm. The risk is, and that's the sliding door moment, the risk is you do the, if it went to auction and you could have got it for less, maybe unlikely, but I'm honestly just do a, just ask them if they're open to it, see what happens. They might want to get it moving. They might not have to pay as much in terms of auction costs or anything like that for the auctioneer. Such a hot market. Yeah, is the one that you're looking at a hot market? Like, have you been to the open and has there been 30 parties going through? Okay, well, there could be 20 or 10 bidders, sure. But if you've been to opens and there's been 2 or 3 people, sure, the market might be hot, but the asset that you're buying at the moment could be as cold as my dead heart. Wow. Anyway, yeah, there's no harm. And it's okay if it's a place that you want to live in, if you do pay a little bit more to secure it and give you the certainty, awesome. Do it. Lock it in. Lock it down. But good discussion there. All right, shorter one today. I did have listed a GJ update. I was going to update people, but I forget what I was going to update. I'm a bit tired, so I don't think I will. But thank you so much for having a listen to me have a yarn today. Certainly during the break, because this is going up on Tuesday, the 16th of December. The team we have an office shutdown from Christmas until the first week of, when is that? I'll just find out for everyone. Oh, Julesy replied, which we'll get to that. Yeah, so the team will shut down probably Christmas Eve, and then the team returns back on the 12th, Monday the 12th, which Kayla is coming to Newcastle to record some This Is Business episodes with me. So we're going to really hopefully turn that up in the new year. In March, we're actually reviewing everything. We're going to be everything that we doing at the moment. In March, we're just putting everything on the table, and I think that's really important to do. See what is working, what isn't working, and then so the point of that all through the Christmas season, there will be on this Money show and on Retire Right, there'll be fresh episodes. I don't love doing reruns on the main show. What did Julesy say? Dun, dun, dun. Hate it when I'm right. Nah, joking. It was a full service. Okay, so full service on a Hilux. And if you shouldn't be taking it to Toyota. If you can go somewhere else, that would be good. So call a full service $1,000. Worst case scenario. Fixing a tire puncture, well, that's only $40. And here we have it, a new front brakes. It was booked for a planned service, but the cost was unexpected. So the front brakes, gosh, they could charge $400 a corner for brakes. Could be $500 a corner. Who knows? So that's why we just need to. It kind of speaks to that shock. It's the bill shock. It's like, oh, bill shock. I need to get rid of this because I'm so shocked. But if we calm down and be like, okay, well, I've got to replace brakes on every car. Hey, at least you know one of the cars that you own won't need new brakes for 2 years or however long it lasts. So, yeah, that's all good in the hood. Thanks so much for listening today. My name's Glen James, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the Product Disclosure Statement, PDS, and Target Market Determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.